Hi friends, I'm Shauna. Welcome to the channel and welcome to a new video. Today I'm bringing you a topic that I am quite surprised I've never... My mic just... Anyways, today's topic is one I'm surprised that I've never brought before, and that is talking about what do you do after you've broken your no-buy? Like, what now? Today's video, the goal of it really is to hopefully give you a little bit of a pep talk, but to give you a kind of plan of action. You know, where do you go from here? Regardless of how you got here, the position that you're in right now is that you've broken your no-buy. That's it. That's where we're at. And with that can come feelings like feeling like a failure, feeling bad about yourself, or just feeling down about the situation. And if this isn't the first time it's happened, maybe even thinking like, again, like really? Or, you know, everybody else seems to be able to stick to their no-buy. Why can't I? And look, I've been there. I've been there as well. I've been there where I have broken my no-buy and I felt like shit. I felt like shit. Okay, just like a quick aside, I can't hear this ear. So I can't hear all of the ambient noises. So I'm going to apologize ahead of time if the editing is not perfect. All right, let's get into it. We need to start off with the pep talk. And I'm approaching this video out of a place of kindness, and I hope that you are too, because beating ourselves up is not going to do anything. It's not going to solve anything. And I think when we can be kind to ourselves, we're also more open to honesty and to, embracing things a bit. I want you to first think back to when you were thinking about or deciding to go on your no-buy. You've likely been on it for some time, a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. And I want you to think about that time, that pre-no-buy time. And I want you to think about where you are right now. Since that time, whatever time has elapsed, are you going in the right direction? And have you made any progress at all? The answer is likely yes. You have likely made choices since deciding to go on your no-buy that you would not have made if you weren't on one. You've likely made at least one positive choice. And even if it was just a day one choice or a day two choice, you've still made choices that you would not have made if you were not on a no-buy. If you've been on it for at least a week, you've probably made more than one choice. And these choices are ones that are getting you closer to your objective. They are aligning more closely with the goal that you have for yourself and ultimately the person that you want to be. The person that you want to be is somebody who shops differently. And if you've been on a no-buy a little longer, I'm going to say at least 2 weeks, probably more in the time frame of about a month, you can think about your trajectory more in depth as well. You can think about the direction. And the reason why I'm asking you to think about the direction is because making a 10% improvement, a 20% improvement is better than no improvement. And you are making change. That's the thing. Is a 10% improvement is still a change if you've been able to maintain it most of the time. And even with a 10% improvement, you will still get to your goal eventually. It just might not be as quickly as you was anticipated, but you can still get there with 10% incremental changes. You will eventually make the change, but you are already seeing changes, whether that's financially or whether that's mentally, like in your mental space. A no-buy is a game of patience and kindness. It's not a game of perfection. Because when we expect perfection of ourselves, we are setting ourselves up for failure. Just in the basic fact that you are not a perfect person, therefore you are living an imperfect life. And expecting perfection out of people who are not perfect, like, there's a disconnect there. You don't actually have to be perfect to change or to make progress. Now, when it comes to our goals, if we're not open to mistakes, I think that's a mistake in itself. The reason is because we need mistakes to learn. You need to be bad at something in order to get better. And even if you have natural talent for something, like you are a naturally gifted singer, that just means that you're starting better than most, not that you're perfect, or that you don't need any training, you don't need any help, or that there's no room for improvement. Failure is when we learn life's most precious and important lessons. Living perfect lives, if we were truly perfect people, I feel like our lives wouldn't be satisfying. They would be kind of superficial in some kind of way. And embracing failure is definitely a mindset shift. And I know there's a lot of, let's say, professions or jobs out there where failing is not an option. I spent the last decade of my life in academia, and failing in that case would be getting below a 70, would mean no grad school, would mean no awards or internships. And technically, like failing in grad school is below a 70, but like if you actually want awards or go to grad school or do things like that, you need an 80, like almost minimum. And I know there's a lot of environments out there that promote failing as like the be all end all, and also translating a failure in one aspect of your life to who you are as a person. Like getting a bad grade somehow translates to you as a person, which is fundamentally not true. Like just because if you actually literally failed something, like you failed a test, failing a test does not mean that like you fail as a person. Like that's not what I'm saying here. And so there are also other circumstances in our lives where maybe we've been treated like a failure or belittled, or we just take failure or criticism really personally and really harshly. And I'm not trying to say that you're not allowed to feel how you feel. That's not it at all. But I want to ask you now, did you try your best? I want you to take a second. Be honest. Did you try your best? If your answer is yes, you have nothing to feel bad about. Giving our best does not mean perfection again, or that because we've tried our best that we will automatically succeed the first time we do something, or that it will translate to success. I feel like that's a bit of a fallacy, like if I just give it 100%, then I can accomplish that thing. No, sometimes our best is disappointing, but ultimately, you cannot fundamentally give better than your best. You can't. Like, it's impossible. I mean, you're not superhuman, like you can't do more than that. And trying your best is not a failure, even if the result is undesirable. It is this fact alone that allows me to truly believe that I successfully completed a no-buy year in 2020, even though I broke my no-buy. A couple weeks back, somebody left a really rude comment. Quite frankly, they were being a bit of an ass, and maybe they were a troll. Their comment was something like this: lol, no, you did not actually complete a no-buy. You are just a shopping addict and a shill who is ingenuine, and I think they used the word ingenuine, and somebody who is just capitalizing on keywords of the algorithm. I mean, ma'am, have you seen this channel? I did use this as an opportunity to reflect. Now that this was last year, so now that, we're like 2 years out from my no-buy, do I still feel like I was successful? Do I still feel like I completed a no-buy year? And given the fact that I did break my no-buy, if you're an absolutist, then no, you would not have considered me to have completed a no-buy year. But in a much more real sense, The title is irrelevant, and the absolutist hard line, yes or no, is irrelevant. The reason why I went on a no-buy, and the likely reason you went on a no-buy too, is to change your shopping, change the way you shop. Did I learn? Did I change my habits? Did I start myself on a positive trajectory? Yes, yes, and yes. Therefore, I was successful. Last year, I spent less. I spent less in an entire year than I did in one Sephora order purchase from 2019. That would not have been possible without the no-buy year. 100%. Change takes time. You will not change your habits in a day, a week, or even a month. These are things, especially when we are talking about ingrained habits and behaviors, these will take multiple months to change. And also, we're not talking about a singular shopping habit. Your shopping habits are plural, they're habits, and they are a constellation of habits. You are changing multiple things at once. That's gonna take time. Now in 2023, I would say my shopping for makeup is completely under control. I would say equivalent to an average person, potentially more. Is an average person just a true utilitarian with makeup? I don't know. But I mean, last year I spent a total of $250 on makeup. 100 of those dollars of which were just complete 1-for-1 replacements. So my shopping for makeup and most things, but makeup in specific, are completely transformed. I feel like my shopping habits right now are the after. It takes time. You are not inherently going to be unsuccessful because you broke your no-buy right now, or because you're experiencing difficulty or struggle right now. Absolutely not. There is no inevitability of failure or success because of a setback. In fact, I would argue the people who have the setbacks will learn way more and potentially even have better shopping habits than the people who just zipped right through it easy peasy. You'll learn way more about yourself, your habits, the way you shop, the way you cope, when you fail and when you have setbacks. I urge you to be kind and patient with yourself because it takes time. So now let's talk about where do you go from here. I have 3 suggestions for you. And my number 1 is to keep going, don't start over. Now, if you're somebody who is saying, you know what, I actually think that continuing with my no-buy is the right call for me. If you want to ultimately keep going with the no-buy, I urge you to not day zero it and to not start over, but to continue. If your no-buy started on, let's say, January 1st, you're not resetting the clock to, let's say, February 15th as your new day 1. You're just going to continue. If you really feel like it's necessary, you can take a day off, add another day to your overall no-buy. Now, if you think that this is something that would truly motivate you, go for it, but I would say proceed with caution and avoid doing this when you can. When you reset the clock, it signals to your brain that you've failed and that you potentially consider yourself a failure. Now, I found this great article from Forbes, and it will be linked, and I want to share it with you. And I think this really sums up why I'm against the don't day zero it. When animals, be them tadpole or human, when it's something, their brains release testosterone and dopamine. With time and repetition, this signal morphs the brain structure and chemical configuration to make successful animals smarter, better trained, more confident, and more likely to succeed in the future. Biologists call this the winner effect. The not yet named loser effect is equally cyclical. In one study, monkeys who made a mistake in a trial, even after mastering the task on par with other monkeys, later performed worse than monkeys who made no mistakes. In other words, they were thrown off by mistakes instead of learning from them. Some research similarly suggests that failure can impede concentration, thereby sabotaging future performance. Students arbitrarily told they failed compared to their peers later displayed worse reading comprehension. When we fail once, we're more likely to fail again and at the same goal, and sometimes more catastrophically. In one study, dieters fed pizza and convinced they'd ruined their daily diet goal, ate 50% more cookies immediately afterwards than those not on diets at all. Now, this article is what they're getting at is when you fail at something, it can get into your head psychologically and affect your performance down the road. But also, when we day zero something, I think that is a bit of a punishment and is not indicative of embracing the failure, or I should really be using the language of perceived failure, and it really feels like a way to kind of ruminate or dwell on a mistake. When you choose to keep going, your mistake becomes a blip and something that is small, and it does not give you the time or the opportunity to self-flagellate and ruminate. It's kind of like the saying, when you day zero it, you're turning a molehill into a mountain, when really you should be keeping your molehill as a molehill. And I think the real concern with day zeroing it is really getting into the mindset of the negative self-talk, the self-flagellation, the destructive thinking, the spiraling, all of that makes being in our heads and in our bodies negative experiences. You shouldn't feel like a complete trash garbage person because you made a mistake. And you made a mistake on something that was important to you. You don't deserve to feel like garbage. You don't deserve to beat up on yourself and to self-flagellate. Not at all. And deserving aside, that's not going to help you achieve your goal. And if you are self-flagellating, if you are negative and ruminating on it, are you really giving yourself the time and space and the bandwidth really to think about the situation, to think about what happened, and to think about, to really consider things? And I do think to be gentle. I don't mean to say like ignoring mistakes or ignoring areas of improvement, but like being honest, like, why did this happen? Why do you think this happened? What can I do next time to be better prepared? And just to kind of think about what kind of circumstances led to this action? Like, how did this action make me feel? How did I feel during this, like what was going on? Or even like, do I have hypotheses as to why this happened? What can I do next time this situation arises? How can I change my action plan to better meet circumstances like this? Also, has being mean to yourself ever really worked for you? I mean, honestly, has it ever worked for you? Have you ever seen positive results, worked harder when you're just being mean and negative? I don't mean using negatives to fuel you. You can absolutely use a negative experience to fuel you in the future or to fuel your goal. But being mean to yourself is not the same as using a negative experience to fuel you. My own personal experience has shown me that my inner voice can be a real ass, okay? She can be mean. She can be rude. She can be nasty. She can be kind of a fucking prick, honestly. Like, I wouldn't hang out with her. I would not hang out with her. She's not fun to be around. And I would never let somebody in my life talk to themselves or other people in the way that my inner voice has talked to me. Now, for the most part, I just tell her to shut the hell up. We don't have time or space for that kind of negative attitude, okay? We don't. My inner voice being a jerk has never really led to positive things. When I have been my most high achieving, it has never been through that negative, nasty, mean voice. Number 2 is resetting your expectations. And this can mean a lot of things. I think when we make a mistake, that's a perfect opportunity to recalibrate and to use it as an opportunity to reconsider the circumstances, reconsider your goal even. Is going cold turkey or completing a no-buy, are these things possible or even helpful for you? I think for most of us, what we really want to change are our shopping habits. We want to spend less in the problem area of our lives, and we ultimately want to change how we shop for good. And then there's likely secondary or tertiary goals like save up money or pay down debt. That goal does not require perfectionism out of you. Absolutely not. And it also does not mean that you don't make mistakes. And sometimes we force things to happen. Like we see the model of when somebody wants to fix their shopping habits, the solution or the model that's been shown to us is a no buy. That's not going to work for everybody. So is that even something that would work for you? If you do want to continue on with the no buy, do you need to try an alternative approach? Do you need to ease in? Do you need to rejig the length? Do you need to reconsider your habits? There's lots of things that we can reconsider. And I do just want to reiterate that sometimes a low buy is genuinely not the right approach for some folks. I'm currently trying to change my shopping habit for clothes, and I have a video, and it's ultimately about like emotional spending, but also in relationship to clothes. And I could have gone on a year-long no buy. I really could have. I could have done that approach and said, you know what, let's go on a no buy for clothes. That for me would be setting myself up for failure. I've learned enough about the psychology of coping mechanisms to know that they are our most difficult habits to break. And so I think we need our gentlest approaches when it comes to coping mechanisms. And I also know myself. My biggest problem with coping mechanisms is the emotional aspect of it. And that is the time in shopping where I will let negative self-talk win out. It still happens there. If I decide to go on a no buy for something that is coping mechanism related, and I'm already in that negative space or more prone to that negative space, I will feel like garbage when I break my no buy for clothing. Or if that happens, I'm not saying it's inevitable, but if that happened, I would feel like garbage, which would just be compounding feeling bad about the coping mechanism. Like that's just a disaster waiting to happen for me. I've been telling you this entire video to not expect perfectionism out of yourself. And because in this particular instance, I can't actually make that happen for myself, I'm just not gonna go there. And here's the thing, we're almost 2 months into the year and I haven't bought a singular piece of clothing. I mean, I would say across the board, even accessories or the like, but clothing and shoes have been my trouble categories. Accessories haven't really been. Like maybe last year I definitely had a headband moment, but overall, like when you look at the last 5 years, accessories, things like jewelry or hair, purses, bags, scarves, those things have not been problem areas for me. Sorry, moving on. A no buy isn't the approach for everybody. And even if you do want to be on a no buy, it doesn't have to look like everybody else is. Like a year-long no buy, you could do it by season, 1 month off, 1 month on. And when you're experiencing a setback, that's the perfect time to reconsider your expectations as well as your approach. And here's what I really want to emphasize as well before we go on to the last one. Nobody else has to live in your shoes. Nobody else is waking up in your bed, doing your dishes, driving your car, earning your salary, dealing with your debt. Nobody. What they're doing is inconsequential for you. So you need to do what's best for you, regardless of what all the other folks are doing. And we're all different kinds of people. We perceive momentum differently, or we can use momentum differently, and different things motivate us. And, paying attention to that really matters. So doing what's best for you and what is the no-buy that you can actually stick with, what is the actual practice that you can stick with to achieve your goal is really what matters most. Now, number 3 is welcome in mistakes like they're friends. I'm not saying set yourself up for failure or to try and create circumstances where you make mistakes, but I mean having this mindset shift of welcoming them in and even anticipating them. Like now when I have projects, or let's take my clothing spending project, I'm not assuming I'm going to fail, but what I am assuming is that mistakes will happen. Mistakes are an inevitable part of life. Basically assuming that I'm not going to do this thing perfectly is something that is the history of my life experience has told me. That doesn't mean I can't exceed my expectations, but I think anticipating potential mistakes is a healthy mindset. I used to try and hide mistakes from myself and kind of like pretend like they didn't happen. When I went on my no-buy, I like pretended like everything was fine. Not because I was actually I knew I was lying. I was just lying to myself. I would say like, oh, I bought this thing because I needed it, so I didn't break my no-buy. I was trying to spin, like I was trying to jump through all the hoops to make it be true, like to make it make sense. But I was lying to myself, and I was really holding on to this idea that a no-buy equals perfection. Like I was holding on to that idea with a vice grip. I thought that the only successful no-buy was one where you literally did not buy anything. Once I started to change my attitude, which really did take a while, took a hot minute, and I began to be interested in my mistakes and then eventually learn to welcome them in, I was a much happier person, and it was a little bit easier to kind of like live and let live, like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I was no longer expecting or anticipating perfection out of myself. And it kind of felt like a sigh, like an ease of the process, because I no longer cared if I was perfect or not, because perfect was no longer the goal. But if a mistake happened, I was not willing to get upset about it and to just self-flagellate and be angry. Mistakes are true opportunities to learn how to change your process, or to change your system of planning, or just to change in general, and change your plan of action so you can be successful moving forward. For real though, 2023 Shauna gets a little bit giddy when she makes a mistake, because it's like exciting. Like, okay, I'm about to learn something here, and I'm about to improve, and I'm about to change. I feel like I might be going around in circles here, but I just need to say it. When we are unwilling to accept our mistakes and embrace them, like be open to them and really see them as part of the journey, we will not change. So we will be doing the same thing, getting the same results that aren't working. In my mind now, mistakes are literally success. Like mistakes equal success. I understand that because a no-buy is higher stakes, that especially if it involves debt or savings, and that we really want to do it well and we really want to do it justice. With that in mind, I think the more serious the goal, the more I need to be, talking personally here, the more I need to be willing to embrace the mistakes, because the more important the goal, the more necessary the change is, because you want to achieve it. So I'm like, if something is super important to me, then I'm willing to change and I'm willing to alter my course to achieve that goal. And so that is way more necessary for our most important goals. And if you're constantly day zeroing, you're not building momentum, and you can just be cutting off momentum like right at the legs. And I think depending on who you are as a person, it can really lead to self-flagellating. Of course, not everybody's like me, and I've just personally found day zeroing to be more destructive than anything. When we're open to our mistakes, then we're able to more so dissect the problem. It might take time to be able to look at the problem or look at the mistake with a fresh set of eyes and to really consider, what happened here. But when we're embracing our mistakes, we're more welcome we're more interested in asking those questions and finding the solution. And like, what were the circumstances around this purchase? What was the cue here for this purchase? Why do I feel like this was a bad purchase or a mistake now when I didn't feel it at the time? Is there a way to catch myself in the act next time? And in specific, if you think about the cue, then you're also more explicitly able to come up with solutions. You know, if my cue was the environment, then I'm able to create solutions to address the environment. That's it for me today. I really hope that this video has inspired you, and I really just want the best for you, whatever kind of course of action that is, whether that's continuing on your no-buy, just continuing on your trajectory, or reevaluating to see if it's right for you. I hope that you can go into your day or your week a little bit lighter and a little bit more at ease, because if you have just failed, you've had a slip up, you're about to learn a lot if you want to. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I really enjoyed having you here. I would love it if you would subscribe to catch more content like this, and I hope to see you again around here soon for a new video. Bye.